Welcome to another installment of the Goddess Keys, where we discover the tools and the jewels needed to support us with our ultimate journey of liberation and sovereignty. And we're continuing on our series around uncommon chakras and going down the rabbit hole. And today's a pretty exciting chakra. We're going to be talking about the Spleen Chakra today. And I'm just going to put it out there and say, if you're squeamish, if you don't like to hear about blood or that sort of thing, you might want to pause here and not listen to this episode, because blood is a lot of what the spleen chakra has to do with, as well as life force or chi energy. Okay, so we're going to get into it. This is the vampiric chakra, right? So if you felt as though you have been harvested by energy vampires and that sort of thing, then you might want to check in on your spleen chakra. Okay, and so let's talk about it. So the spleen chakra is at the center of your bottom rib on your left side, and it's known as the prana chakra. And if your spleen chakra is low, it can lead to depression. And it can, if it's empowered, it can cause the body to be victorious over disease and illness. So an imbalanced spleen chakra can lead to lack of vitality or that concept of chronic fatigue syndrome. Another interesting dynamic of an unbalanced spleen chakra can be codependency, right? Feeling like you kind of like need somebody's energy in order to thrive, or feeling very unstable, like when you're not in a relationship. So interesting fact about the spleen is it's very connected to the sacral chakra. It's actually known sometimes as the svadhistana chakra, which is another word for the sacral. And so it's located between the base of the spine and the belly button. And even though it's like on the left side, it also has points on the right side as well. And the spleen is where we store a lot of our anger and frustration. And if we have an empowered spleen chakra, then we're also able to move through life with courage. Okay, but this is a very vulnerable chakra, and this is where a lot of times we can get courted through psychic attacks, and where like emotional hooks can be placed on us. Okay, and I'm just gonna be honest, like I'm not gonna go too much into the language around this, but let's just say SRA, abuse. And if you don't know what SRA is, then just Google it and you'll get the full description of that. But a lot of times that is the result of blood, okay, and life force energy. And a lot of the systematic black magic that is happening on a very structural level in order to sustain old world institutions is going to happen through the spleen, straight up, okay? And if you have an imbalanced spleen chakra, or if you don't have agency over your spleen chakra, then you are going to be a magnet for energy vampires, unfortunately. All right. So, that's kind of that's the quick and dirty version of the spleen. A little bit, some other things I want to share before we get into how to build up this chakra system. Let's talk a little bit about life force energy and its connection to blood. Okay, so life force is chi, it's prana energy. It's really what makes the world go round. Very similar to the blood that's in our veins. All right, it's another version of life force energy. So even when we think about the archetype of the vampire, it's really just a way of saying somebody who feeds off of life force energy, okay? And I'm actually not here to demonize all vampirism, okay? I have been going down a pretty intense rabbit hole, and have been being shown things about vampirism and the ways in which it's not necessarily always a bad thing, and that there is a way in which you can utilize vampirism as a way to balance the scales within the false matrix. But I will potentially share that information at a later date. And also, like, old school vampirism, like ancient vampirism, has nothing to do with blood. It's actually really about chi energy, maintaining your life force energy. Okay. And so there is this way in which, like, if we're in a system that has been fostered by a constant state of vampirism, right? If it's been sustained in that way for thousands of years, if you are going to overcome the system, right, wouldn't it make sense to know what some of these principles are? Okay. And if you are looking into polarity integration as opposed to I'm team light or I'm team dark, I'm left-hand path or I'm right-hand path. Like, if you're looking for that middle path, it might behoove you to study the energetic dynamics of vampirism, okay? Especially if you are like a starseed and you have a very specific mission to raise the consciousness of humanity. Like, we can sometimes be considered as targets. And so how do we turn that into a positive? How do we make that work for us? Okay. And I'm just going to leave that thought there. And I might do some more content on what I've been learning about vampirism and how to utilize it in a way that actually heals karma, as opposed to being out of alignment with the law of one. Okay. So when I say that vampirism is, there's some things to consider about it, I definitely am coming from a law of one standpoint. So I really want to put that out there. Like, I'm not coming from that standpoint of, oh, it's a dog eat dog world, so kill or be killed. No, it's way more complex than that, or it's way more intricate than that. Okay. So that being said, that's one way to take your power back if you have a weak spleen chakra. You can learn actually through muscle testing. And on my Patreon, we're doing some assessments around checking in with our organs and our etheric bodies and stuff like that through a curriculum that we've been working with called Aligning with Earth. And there are some pretty interesting like worksheets and stuff that you can really dive into to support with your muscle testing process, to just kind of see what agency, what parts of your body you have agency over, and then what parts of your body do you not have agency over. And you can find a lot of great information about that. Okay, more about the spleen chakra. So when we're empowered with our spleen chakra, we feel vital. We're energetic. We're moving our bodies. So this is a very body, physical based chakra. Okay, like this is life force. So moving your body, doing qigong will be really big with enhancing your spleen chakra and making you feel strong and healthy. Also, Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine is going to be a really good thing to get into when working on balancing out your spleen chakra. Okay. And interestingly, we don't talk about the spleen in Western medicine. It's really considered a non-issue. And I find that really interesting, considering that it's the source of our life force, and somehow we find a way to just skip over it. It makes me wonder, like, why? And as I've discovered, a big part of the why is around etheric implants. So there are these implants that we all have as a human species, called J seals. They're also referred to as crucifixion implants, and they're located on the left side of our body. And one of the implants is located right in our spleen, okay? And now, going back to that whole thing around SRA, and, if we think about crucifixion, there's a very particular religion that we think of as it relates to crucifixion, okay? And there's a very intense blood sacrifice ritual that is elevated within that religion. And it has to do with crucifixion, and it has to do with bloodletting, and it has to do with sacrifice, okay? So the spleen chakra has a lot to do with, like, if you've ever felt like you are the scapegoat within your family or within society, if you've kind of felt like you have been put down in order to prop other people up, and that's just been a constant thing that you've had to go through, then you're going to have to reclaim the power over your spleen chakra. And that's going to mean like really focusing on your physical health and well-being, switching up your eating habits, really moving your body is going to be really important, as well as removing the etheric implants, also known as the J seals, on the left side of your body, as well as revoking contracts, vows, oaths, and agreements to be energy harvested off of and siphoned through and that sort of thing, okay? So those are going to be very important for you to do to reclaim your power from the energy of sacrifice. And I will be posting a subliminal very soon around like reclaiming your power from SRA. And so check that out. And on the Patreon, we will be going through a guided meditation and vow revocation around the crucifixion implants and the J seals. Okay, so we're going to go deeper into that content on Patreon. So if this is something that you are seeking to be liberated from at this time, consider joining the Patreon. It's at a very reasonable cost to get some of these services and to do this, like to do it yourself and to empower yourself to like learn how to do this upkeep and clear these contracts, covenants, oaths, and agreements, okay? So let's talk about the physical spleen for a second. So 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., the spleen is the strongest. So the spleen is connected also to the throat chakra and to expression, okay? So this goes back to if you have felt... So number one, I want to make a point around the 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Being active in the mornings. So if you find that like it's really hard for you to get out of bed, and I've gone through that too, but you really want to kind of push through that and also investigate, well, why is it so, like, why am I so drained? Why am I so tired? Okay. What's happening on an energetic and spiritual level? Okay. And not to just give in and be like, there's nothing I can do, and just get into depression over it, which is what a lot of people do. Focus on balancing your spleen chakra, right? And reclaim your power. Another sign of the weak spleen will include fatigue, constant urination, loss of appetite, inability to concentrate or think clearly, nausea, obesity. All right. And some crystals that you can use to heal your spleen would include amber, which is all about cultivating that life force energy and building your self-confidence and self-worth. Some other cool crystals that you can utilize is bloodstone. Bloodstone is a big one, and this is going to help regulate your bloodstream and your life force energy, as well as citrine, carnelian, emerald, ruby. Ruby's a big one. Rubies are going to be a great one for working with the spleen. Reds, that red energy would be really helpful because red is associated with blood, right? Life force energy. Jade, and so another thing to know about the spleen chakra is when it's blocked or when it's being harvested off of, it's a lot more difficult to have intimate relationships with people. Okay. And it can be vampirized off of and deplete your power source. Okay. And it's also connected to your liver, your kidneys, and your prostate. And, I think a big reason why it can really mess up your connection with intimacy is because it is connected to the sexual organs as well. And if you have a lot of like hooks and cords of attachment or implants located as it relates to the spleen chakra, then that's going to mess up the vibration and the frequency that you're at in terms of calling in partners that are good for you. Okay, so now we get into that whole empath narcissist dynamic. Why is it that like empaths and narcissists just kind of magnetize to each other? Does that have something to do with etheric implants, etheric technology, or weaponry? I would definitely say that it does. And so if you don't have agency over your spleen chakra or your spleen in general, and that is located in your sexual power center, then you might want to consider exploring removing etheric implants as it relates to that area. And I'll be doing more definitely on Patreon. I'll be doing more information about that, and also on my general YouTube channel, just to share what I've been learning about that. It's kind of a tedious process, I'm not even gonna lie, removing these implants, but it is so rewarding. And there are ways in which you can do it yourself. And so I'll be sharing more tools and resources as it relates to that in the weeks to come. Let's see, anything else that I want to share around the spleen chakra? I want to share one more time just the connection with the crucifixion implant and the spleen, okay? And before actually I do that though, let's go into some of the foods that you can eat in order to restore your spleen chakra. Okay, so there's no getting around it. Like we gotta take care of our physical bodies as we go through this ascension process, okay? And there are foods and there are things that we can ingest in our bodies that are going to give us energy, and then there's things that we can ingest that are going to take our energy away, okay? And the choice is really ours. And I say this not as like somebody who's being all high and mighty, because I've definitely been the person to like binge off of like hot Cheetos and, whatever. But as you start clearing out your energetic field more and more and more, what you're going to notice is that you just have a greater sense of love and respect and reverence for your body, and for this desire to be well, and for this desire to thrive, okay? And the spleen, like if some of the imbalanced things that I've read off, if that's like hitting home for you, then really think about the relationship that you have with your body, food, exercise. And is that, are the tendencies that you're utilizing as it relates to food and exercise and or lack thereof, is that in any way related to this programming around self-harm? Okay, because we definitely have that programming that we need to dismantle around like literally trying to end our life force, right? Like being programmed for that. So working through your spleen, first working through your subconscious mind to see like where are the blocks for you to fully care for your body and show up for your body. I would actually start there before I started with any sort of like eating strategy or exercise strategy. I would start with the subconscious, but just know that we're going to end up getting back to the actual body at some point, because that's just the way things go. So some of the foods that are really healthy for your spleen include quinoa, oats, barley, brown rice, butternut squash, sweet potatoes, broccoli, spinach, peppers, asparagus, citrus, berries, apples. Some of the supplements that you can take would include iron, B12, vitamin C, red ginger. Oh, ginger's a big one. Ginger is a huge one to like get that life force energy going. getting that pep in your step. So just ginger on everything if you're working on your spleen chakra. Licorice, astragalus, lentils, black beans, pumpkin seeds, almonds, eggs, stews, cooked food, hot food, warm foods, nurturing food. So the spleen doesn't really like so much cold stuff. So if you're somebody who likes to eat a lot of raw foods, that might not be what your spleen really needs. Your spleen might need a little bit more of those like hearty foods as well. Stews, broths, soups. And then in terms of spices, you can definitely add ginger, black pepper, cardamom, cinnamon, turmeric, cumin. And then you can also add dates, figs, cabbage, and pumpkin. The spleen is associated with the earth element. That's why a lot of the foods that were mentioned are very earthy. They're very root-based, okay? And another thing that you can do to work on your spleen, especially if you're having blockages around incorporating a healthy diet and incorporating like exercise, try to visit an acupuncture clinic as well and like get them to work on your spleen specifically, and that might start opening up your meridians to start changing your thoughts and attitude around the holistic wellness thing, okay? Because I speak as somebody from experience. Sometimes like I would look at, the healthy foods and I'd be like, I know I should, but I don't really want to. I really want like the ice cream. I really want the hot Cheetos. So I really want the donut. And hey, sometimes you're going to have those days, but as you're on this path of detoxing from the false matrix, the majority of the time should be the good stuff, right? And it actually shouldn't be. Actually, I have to rephrase myself because it won't be a should. It'll be a I get to. Yay. Pumpkin, yay, sweet potato, yay, lentils. Like you'll get to a point where you'll align with your body and you get excited about the things that make your body feel good, okay? And if you're not excited about those things, then that means that there's more deprogramming that we have to do. And this is something I'm also still working through as well, but constantly improving on this, okay? So then let's get back to those crucifixion implants one more time. I'm going to read some stuff from Ascension Glossary. Yeah, there's so much to say about the spleen. It's like Chinese medicine says it's like the most important organ. So I think it's important to share some information about it, especially since it's a chakra that we don't talk about. And there's a big old etheric implant that like the human population has, okay? So now I'm going to read from the Ascension Glossary as it relates to the spleen, just to tie everything together. Okay, the wounds of Christ are karmic blood miasmas recorded in the planetary body and collective human body from crucifixion implants that were holographically inserted in the planetary brain. One important area of the human body impacted by this was the spleen implant, located in our 7th dimensional axiotonal line on the left side rib cage. This represented the enslavement of humanity to recycle their souls from tainted blood and blood sacrifice. There is a detoxification occurring in our blood, leading to the full release of the spleen implant. Blood plasma upgrade. The Christos double diamond solar light body are now upgrading the spleen and liver in the bloodstream as it relates to spiritualized blood chemistry through the changing structures of blood plasma. Spiritualizing your blood is to heal the tainted blood and spleen of its inherited genetic records, karmic records, and wounds. And it also will support with healing reptilian DNA anomalies, and also this kind of thing around, there's this like dynamic and phenomena around like body takeovers or body snatching programs. And this is something that you might want to really look into, especially if you identify as an indigo type 3. Christ crucifixion implants, spleen implant, is specifically to infect blood and digress its purity. Crucifixion represents the consciousness enslavement of humanity to repeatedly recycle their souls from karmically bound physical bodies and distorted blood records as a result of the wounds of Christ, reclaiming the Christos Sophianic intelligence back to earth and returning the spiritual bodies back to the planet and the rightful owner of which it belongs to is an important mission at this time. The spleen has been originally designed to purify, protect, and spiritualize the blood, but the spleen implant stops the ability to transcend karmic record in the blood and allows superimposed loads to be put on humanity from aliens. What does that mean? Superimposed loads, karmic loads. Karma that's not even ours, those like sacrificial rituals where, now we're getting into that destiny swapping kind of stuff and karmic transference. And, we got to think bigger than just Earth, all right? There are a lot of beings, interdimensional beings that are very interested in humans and siphoning energy off of humans. And they understand universal law, even though they try to warp it a lot of times. And so karma is real, but they've done so much to invert karma. And a lot of the programs that they've used, and this has to go down to a blood level around DNA manipulation, stuff that we're still fully trying to understand as a collective, and more is going to be revealed to us. But the spleen implant is really what kind of feasts this, it puts together this whole energy harvesting program, okay? It says karmic loads is a type of miasma and dead energy generated as a waste product from inorganic technology pollution on Earth energetic fields. Miasma increases molecular compaction in matter and is why we have a carbon atom 666. So one thing that's happening right now when we talk about ascension, when we talk about activating our light body, this is changing the carbon atom of 666 into the figure 8. That's why, I'm recording this in 2024, which is known as an 8 year, the year of the dragon. And a lot of this year is about DNA upgrades and the return of the dragon lineages, the return of the Divine Mother. And a lot of this is going to be related to transitioning our molecular structures and doing the work necessary, the clearing work necessary to support with this process. So it says, many of us lost our connection to soul and we became numb to the pain in order to survive in anti-human based structures, siphoning our life force to other planets that serve alien agendas. Located in the 7th chakra, the entire female spirit of our body, we are not aware of these implants until we open the 7th seal and start connecting this part of our 7th layer light body to our personal consciousness field. Okay, and so I'm going to tie this all together and connect this back to the last chakra episode I recorded around the knee chakra. So one thing I said about the knee chakra, and we talked about the connection of the knees to Saturn, okay? And there was a little bit of conversation around the Saturn moon matrix in the last episode. Okay, well, that's coming up again because Saturn is actually known, according to Ascension Glossary, Saturn is actually known as the 7th solar gate, okay? And so we have these crucifixion implants that are located on the left side in our, from a 7th dimensional perspective. And on top of that, the left side has to do with the divine feminine as well. And one of these crucifixion implants is actually located around our left knee, and another one of these crucifixion implants is located right at our spleen. Okay, so there is a connection here. and just around that like sacrificial energy of elite, quote unquote, elite groups, right? Doing sacrifices in order to sustain and propel their energy harvesting campaigns. It is connected to the spleen. So once again, we can't look at these chakras we can't look at them from, okay, we're just focusing on this chakra. Like, our body is a very comprehensive and sophisticated network, and there are conversations being had at different parts of our body. So the knees are definitely connected with the spleen as well. And it says the crucified group consciousness bodies were used to feed the artificial creations of the phantom matrix spaces made by controllers to serve their enslavement agenda on Earth. And so this goes back to like energy vampirism, or what they refer to as straw man rituals or scapegoating rituals. And one thing that we do when we remove these crucifixion implants is we terminate all enslavement contracts impacting the body, mind, soul, and spirit, and the land. And we also revoke all consent to participate in these programs, especially as it relates to our bloodline. Because the scary part about this is like, a lot of times we're just born into this stuff because of our blood. Like, this is something that was imposed on us. And as we liberate ourselves and reclaim our power, we need to remove these implants, and we need to revoke soul contracts associated with this kind of stuff. So let's reclaim our blood. Let's reclaim our life force energy. And also let's reclaim our power from a lot of these chakra complexes. The more I'm learning about this stuff, the more I'm seeing that a lot of these chakras have been used to energy harvest off of us. And so we got to reclaim our power from that as well. So be on the lookout for that subliminal if you're looking to heal from this dynamic a bit further and do some more spleen activation. And if you're looking for some support with coaching, my links are below. And always remember that you are the key. Until next time, bye.